Hi everyone, this is Sarah. Today is Friday, March 15th. Last weekend I went to my very first GaryCon. It was super fun. Spoiler alert. Wednesday morning my brother and sister-in-law drove up from Central Arkansas and picked me up on their way to Wisconsin. And Carl Heil and Courtney Heil, you may know them, Save or Die podcast. They're both on that. Courtney's a pretty recent addition. Carl is still a recent-ish addition compared to how many episodes they have, but he's been on it for quite about a year, I want to say. Correct me if y'all know and I'm wrong, because I don't know everything. And then Carl is also, he has the Dungeon Show, which is kind of like a late night talk show where he interviews people in the RPG world. And then also he's on, I want to say it's the Crusader Podcast. I will look it up and link, but it's a Castles and Crusades podcast that he is doing as well. So yeah, they picked me up. We drove to Wisconsin, pretty much straight through. I think we stopped like once or twice to gas up and use the bathroom, and that's about it. Went to the hotel, got checked in, dropped all our bags off, and then we weren't staying on site, so we headed to the convention center from there. Got our badges, got my GM stuff. They treat their GMs pretty well there. I did 20 hours, so I think in 18 hours you get a t-shirt. So I got, let's see if I can get it in frame here. GaryCon 11 Game Master. And there is the art on it. I think it's pretty spectacular. I'm excited to wear it. So got that. Got my Stadium Cup, which if you've been to GaryCon, you know that thing is like gold, because $3 beers or free beers during happy hour, plus free sodas or $1 sodas. So yeah, that was nice. I definitely make good use of it. And got that. Got my stickers to be able to do things like go to the GM lounge, which was a nice addition, especially there were a couple of times that I really needed it. Like I needed some character sheets that I neglected to bring with me, so I was able to hook up my phone to a wireless printer down there and print it. I could have probably done it at the hotel too, but you know, I was an hour before my game realizing I didn't have them, so I probably didn't really have time to go back to the hotel. So yeah, that worked out. They had some snacks and drinks down there, but the thing that I found really nice about it is I was able to order table service there, so I was able to get a couple of lunches there without, I don't know, I mean, just be able to just sit down and enjoy my lunch and not not having to worry about running a game, because I definitely ran more games than I played. So yeah, that was a really nice addition. Plus, I'm an introvert, so having a little bit of a quieter space to decompress was really nice for me. They did have some movies running in the background. I also used it to do some prep work in a little bit quieter space. I did some of that in the cafe too. Yeah, it was nice. It was really nice to have just a little bit of a space that was a little quieter in the midst of it. Not that, I mean, if you've been to Gen Con and haven't been to GaryCon, it's nowhere near that level of craziness. So if you're looking for a little bit quieter RPG con, this might be a good fit for you. There's obviously smaller ones out there too, but this was, I think they said about 3,000 people. So it's about the same size as the board game convention that I go to every May. So it was familiar to me. I'll put it that way. That size was familiar to me. Went out to eat at Culver's after we picked up our badges and stuff. My brother and sister-in-law had been told by her cousin that they desperately needed to try some fried cheese curds. So we went to, or cheese curds. I don't think they specified fried, but yeah, so we went to Culver's so they could get cheese curds. And I mean, I live close enough to a Culver's that I get it fairly often, but I'm always good to eat one of their burgers. It's one of my favorite fast food restaurants. So, yeah, I went and had dinner, went back, hung out with some of the Castles and Crusades people and the DCC people for a little bit before packing it up for the night. This was probably the only night that I made it back to my hotel before midnight, and it was probably close. I really don't remember the exact time that we decided to call it a night and head back, But, yeah, I went ahead and headed back to the hotel. I spent Thursday morning, some of it in my hotel, prepping, because I realized that I had left my 2017 program guide, which had my Dinosaur Crawl Classic stuff in it. So I was doing index cards from the PDF on my phone, so that I had easier access to stuff than having to look stuff up on my phone and having my face in my phone. So I did that a little bit, and then I did some of the prep work, like I said, for that same one, just because, you know, I neglected to bring it, for whatever reason, was not packed with my DCC stuff. Probably because I was like looking at it the night before and just didn't put it back in the box, because so much trying to get ready for these things, especially if you're running games, but it's so worth it. So yeah, Thursday morning, I don't know, after a couple hours of working on that at the hotel, I decided to go ahead and go over. I didn't have a game until 2. So I did a quick glance through the vendor hall, because I wanted to make sure that I got at least one little bit of a spot of time in the vendor hall, because I did not plan my time well. I just didn't. So I did that, and after I went to the vendor hall, I had a game with Jen Brinkman. I got to play Blacklisted in Lankhmar. It was my first time playing an upper level character at all. I have run a few, probably pretty poorly because I don't do it a lot. So yeah, I did that, which was a ton of fun. My first time playing with Fleeting Luck. I adore Fleeting Luck. And speaking of Fleeting Luck, Jen gave me, of course, the Spellburn. You've probably seen pictures of some of this also on social media, +1 luck. I got a Sanctum Secorum rat snake chip as well. And then I'll probably do an episode on Order of Shanna at some point, but she gave me a stack of Order of Shanna Fleeting Luck tokens. So I have a nice stack of tokens that I can use for Fleeting Luck in my game. I'm seriously thinking about trying it out in a regular DCC game. I really like it a lot. So yeah, I got that from Jen, and got to play with Fleeting Luck, which was fun. Got to explore Lankhmar a little bit. I have the PDFs because I backed the Kickstarter, but I haven't really taken the time. I am going to read up on Fleeting Luck. That is one of my things that I need to do very soon. So yeah, did that and had a blast in her game. And then I had a little bit of a break, enough time to kind of get, her game was in the main area, and then I had to do the hike to the forum, which that is maybe one of the downsides, is that there are 2 areas that are connected by a hotel, so it takes a little bit of time. I mean, that was not a hard walk by any means, but it's a little bit of a maze, and it was the first time I had walked there, so I was like, I need to go and make sure I know where I'm going. So I took off a little early to go do that. My first game was Hubris, the level 0 funnel in that. And I had a good time with that one. I felt like I was trying to get my GM feet back under me, because it'd been a little while since I had run a DCC game, or a game at anything other than just running my family through a few encounters that I was unsure of for one of the modules that I ran. But yeah, did that game. That ran till I think 11 o'clock Thursday night. So then and I think we finished a little early. So this was like the only night I really got to visit with people, because my other games ran till midnight, and then the hotel that we stayed at had a shuttle, and it stopped running at 1. So I didn't really have a lot of time in between. That is probably my biggest regret, is that I didn't plan time better. But I know for next year, if I get to go next year. So did the DCC, I just lost my train of thoughts. We have crickets. If you're hearing crickets, I've mentioned before, I'm not sure on this channel, but some of you know that we have tarantulas and a deadleaf mantis, and they eat crickets, so you're hearing their food. So I apologize for that, but there's not much I can do about it. They're pretty noisy, and this is what I live with all the time. But yeah, sorry about that. I got super distracted. So yeah, I visited with them a little bit, then headed back to the hotel. Friday, I also I don't think I had a game until afternoon, but I was still doing prep work for it because, you know, what you think is going to take a couple hours ends up taking 6. That's just the way everything goes in my life. So, did some more prep work for the Dinosaur Classics game, and then also kind of reread some of the stuff that I was running with my Carnival of the Damned game. This day, I just ran 2 games. I did not play in any games on Friday. First one was Dinosaur Classics. It was super fun. It's always fun to see. This was like my 3rd time running it, I think, and it's fun to see how the characters interact with the environment and the fun things that the dinosaurs, that playing dinosaurs gets to bring to the table. So yeah, I did that, and then had a little bit of a break between that and my Carnival of the Damned game, which I ran as a 0 level funnel. Did not, I mean, both of my Dinosaur Classics games, and even the ones that I had ran before as prepped for this, I need to streamline it, or I need to run it longer if I do it again. I'm thinking about, if I do it again, just making it a 5-hour, because even like rushing through some of the stuff, it just doesn't quite run as the adventure in there. It's hard to get into a con game 4-hour time slot. So I think if I do it again, I'm going to do it as a 5-hour slot, just because it was a little rushed and we still didn't get through it. So yeah, I did that. Then kind of just sat in the forum a little bit and prepped for my Carnival of the Damned game. Had a lot of fun in the Carnival of the Damned game. This is the one that I hadn't really ran all the way through. I had ran all the other modules that I was running before, and this is the one that I had kind of just done some practice encounters with my husband and daughter, just to see how it played out. But yeah, I think it was one of the most fun sessions that I ran at GaryCon. I had a great group. I had a great tables all the way through. Really imaginative and inventive, and came up with solutions that I didn't expect, which is always fun. But yeah, I did that. As I was running it, David Baity came by the table, snapped a picture, because it was really bad. So I've got a picture out there floating around social media land of me running Dinosaur Classics. No, sorry, Carnival of the Damned, that David Baity put out there somewhere, and it was totally stealth. I did not know he was even there taking that picture, but did that. He handed me, he's got Dark Trails coming out, which is a Western Cthulhu themed thing. I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's coming out on Kickstarter soon. So he gave me a couple of dice. Not entirely sure how that's supposed to go. I need to figure that out, but yeah. Got those from him as I was running the game. And then after that, like I said, I had that game ended at midnight. I had a few minutes to hang out with the people in the bar, that's one of my favorite things about going to these is hanging out with the Goodman Games people that are running games and playing in games, and it's just it's a really family type atmosphere, and I really enjoy that. So I got a few minutes with them, then had to head back to the hotel so I didn't get stranded. And then Saturday I had a morning game. I got up and ran Dinosaur Classics again. Two people who ran it, I mean, every time you run something twice, it's not the same. So that was fun. The Dinosaur Classics. I did have a little bit of a break here. So I was able to go sit down, have some lunch, and I did not have a break. I lied. I went to, I knew Daniel Bishop was going to be running right after I finished, and I talked to him earlier, and I was like, I'm going to go check at your table and just see if maybe somebody doesn't show, see if I can get a spot, and he let me in anyway, even though he was full. So I ran in. He was doing, oh my gosh, the name is something to do with rats. he did that. I got a bonus. We got a bonus adventure because we finished that one so fast. His dice hated him. That's the only explanation. His dice absolutely hated him during that first adventure. So we ran through a second adventure that he was planning on running later that night, and rushed through that one, which was nice. It was super cool to get to play in one of his games. It was my first time meeting him, so that was fun. Did that, and then I had a couple hours in between his game and my next game, so that's when I went and got some food, because food is important. I need to learn that because I eat horribly during these things, but I went and got some food, so at least I got a little bit of nourishment each day. Went back to the forum after that, because this is where I went to the GM lounge and got table service. Went back to the forum after that and ran my last Hubris game, and it was super fun. They, again, like I said, it was my second one of the convention, and they approached it different, where there was a chance that they could push a button, they did, and it made for a fun game. They were at all, one of my favorite things is one of them put cause of death was too much curiosity, which is very true. Taking a second to insert something here that I neglected to talk about in my first video. The Hubris game, my last Hubris game, there was a gentleman that had sat down at my table that I recognized from the hotel shuttle. He was staying at the same hotel I was, so we had been on the hotel shuttle together at one point and had a little bit of a conversation. So he had just kind of wandered over and asked if I had room, and I said, yeah, go ahead and sit down. So he sat down and played in that game, and as the first character died, somebody asked if I had the death stamp, or it came up somehow or another, and I said, no, unfortunately I didn't run enough games in 2018 to earn it, although I would have loved to. It just didn't happen. So he pulled out a stamp and kind of let the players mark their characters as dead as they died, and we had a lot of deaths. As you heard before, they like to push all the buttons. So he did that, and it turns out that he did a Kickstarter. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's Kenku Press. It is not focusing, but the Kenku. I will link it. I'll link their Kickstarter. That might be the easiest thing for me to find. I think they probably have links from there. I'll link something in the description. But this is the stamp. Let me see if I can get it to focus on that. There we go. This is the stamp that that they all used. And as we were finishing up the game and I was giving out some of that awesome swag that I showed in my last video, he pulled out a bunch of different stamps, and he told all of the players that they could take one of the stamps. And then at the very end, he said, and the stamp that was used to, you know, mark all the deaths in this game is for you. And that I thought was just pretty darn amazing. So, yeah, I've got a death stamp, a cause of death stamp now, which is exciting because I've never had one. So yeah. And I really like that with DCC and funnel games. I think that's pretty amazing. They have a whole bunch of different ones. I was kind of looking at their Kickstarter that they ran, and they have some cause of death stamps. The character sheet I got from Daniel Bishop's game, this is one of their stamps too, and I didn't realize that until he started passing out the stamps. Anyway, so that's one of their stamps. He has some quest completed stamps. I can't remember exactly everything, but I will link it. I just wanted to put that in there because I thought that was super cool of him. His name was Tom. I do not know his last name, but yeah, check him out because I've got some cool stuff. Back to regular scheduled video now. I ran 5 games, played in 2. Saturday was really, I went to the kind of the after hours thing, cultural exchange, I think is what they call it, and got to say my byes to everybody because we were getting up early Sunday, and driving back, and Sunday, you know, there was a time change in there and all of that, so said my goodbyes and headed back Sunday morning. I did get the Inn at 5 Points, which was the convention module by Brendan LaSalle. This was like my one thing that I knew I had to have. This was definitely a budget trip for me. But I did pick this up, which was awesome. And I need to read it. I've read like the first page, and I'm super intrigued to see how it goes. I have not played in this. I know a lot of people have, because it was a Sunday morning convention game for him for years. But I don't do a lot of conventions, and certainly not RPG conventions. And so I was excited to be able to get my hands on that. And it almost didn't happen because I went Thursday, and John's like, I don't know where they are. So, but yeah, they managed to find them and get them in their booth. So I was able to pick that up when I visited the vendor hall later. Like I said, I poorly planned my time. I would suggest not running games till midnight every night, because that was maybe the hardest thing for me, was that I just didn't get the visiting time that I had gotten at Gen Con when I went to Gen Con the one year. So, and then I didn't get, because I had to do, but part of it was because I had to do some extra prep work that I wasn't expecting with Dinosaur Classics. I had scheduled some vendor walk around time, but it just got eaten up by other stuff that I needed to do in order to run the best game possible. I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to those of you. I did run the Dinosaur Classics is a level 2. I've mentioned before on this that I mostly run funnels, that I'm not super familiar with all of the upper level stuff. But I just want to give out a shout out to the people sitting at my table that were patient with me, that helped me work through a couple of things that I was not completely sure of. And it was a great atmosphere. I was a little worried about running that, because I was still struggling a little bit with some of it, but the people at my table were amazing the whole weekend. So if you're a little worried about going to Gary Con and running games because you're around all of these, I mean, there's a lot of GMs at Gary Con. I think a lot of people come to Gary Con to run and play games because they only run games at home. So a lot of GMs, but you know what? They're all super friendly, and they've all been there, and they all are willing to be patient with you and help you out. So don't let that stop you from going. I don't think that I have really anything else to talk about Gary Con, other than if you get a chance to go, you should. And I'm going to wrap it up there. Feel free, if you have any questions or have any comments, to leave them in the comment section, and I will be sure to read all of them and answer what I can. I guess that's it. I will see y'all at a later date. Bye.